Why are America's richest men all preparing for the downfall of society? Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI, has openly said that he is preparing for the collapse of society. He's admitted to stockpiling guns, gold, gas, antibiotics, and has an underground bunker. Zuckerberg owns over 2,000 acres in Hawaii and basically has his own compound, which includes a 5,000 square foot underground bunker complete with blast-resistant doors. Peter Thiel, mentor to JD Vance and former PayPal founder, has his own underground bunker and a private farm. These are some of America's richest and most powerful men, so what do they know that the rest of us don't? Funny enough, New Zealand is a popular spot for billionaires to buy citizenship because they think they can retreat there when the world ends.
I need to go to New Zealand before the billionaires buy their own citizenship there and make it a terrible place, because New Zealand looks gorgeous and is also where they filmed Lord of the Rings, and I want to go see a bunch of that kind of stuff. But yeah, of course the billionaires are buying bunkers and preparing for the end of the world. They're planning on ruining everything, and they're either prepared for the accelerated climate change, the collapse of the economy because they fire everybody and don't have a plan for what to do when AI takes your job, or they're also planning for people to freaking rise up and bring the guillotine back. Of course they've got bunkers and a private farm. Who has he got that's working for him, that's working the farm? He's not working his own farm.
It's just insurance, right? Like, if you have that much money, you got to build a bunker. You need a bunker. You need multiple, you got to have lots and lots of cars. And then eventually you run out of things to buy. And then you're like, I need something big. And you're going to get a bunker. I would definitely have a bunker.
You would have a bunker if you were like, I don't know.
I would definitely have a bunker. Definitely, when you have that much money, what else? You get to a point where you have to keep upping, right? And the bunker is sort of like I'm that rich that I have a luxury bunker.
So clearly we shouldn't ever let anybody get that rich if their answer is, I'm going to throw away money on 17 years of canned goods and water and a secret farm in New Zealand that I'm going to fly to as the commoners come running up my driveway with pitchforks and guillotines. Like, that you shouldn't be allowed to have that much money. And I don't know. I think there's a little bit of them assuming they don't have a plan in case their decisions and choices go catastrophically sideways. And I don't know. This seems like a warning sign that we should pay attention to.
I'm good with the bunkers. I would definitely have a bunker or two. But yeah, I would actually, if I had that much money, I would have a bunker pretty much in all of the hubs that I spend time in, right? Because you don't know. Like, you fly into New York City and then things escalate all of a sudden. You're like, I ain't getting back to my house in Florida. I definitely wouldn't have a bunker in Florida, by the way.
No, that thing would be underwater by the time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you got to have a bunker. I'm actually surprised that nobody has an oil rig.
Maybe we only know about the bunkers because they're inland, like they're not in international waters. We don't know the Dr. Evil island that they've all colonized.
Oh, yeah, the islands. Yeah. And actually, I'm really surprised because New Zealand's pretty strict, right? Like, people are really able to buy their way in.
Right. That was kind of surprising to me. Who knows? I mean, they had a liberal government during COVID, but I don't know if maybe things have swung the other direction lately and you're now for sale citizenship. That's crazy.
The other thing, too, in defense of the bunker kings and queens, we need somebody to run the country after everybody else is vaporized. And
after all of their terrible choices have led to the collapse of society, and so now somebody needs to be in charge afterwards. Great.
We made them billionaires.
No, we absolutely did not.
We buy their products. Look at Musk. He wouldn't have as much money if people didn't buy his products, right?
And he's suffering for it as a result because people stop buying.
Yeah, I'm good with the bunkers. I like the bunker idea.
I am trying to give you an opening to talk about the gap and the sting, and you're not taking it.
What? Well, hang on a second. What? Last thing before I take the bait.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, I bet she has a bunker.
Taylor Swift. I mean,
I guarantee you Taylor has a bunker.
Taylor Swift, somebody the other day was putting together a chart trying to explain, like, you know, you all clown on this celebrity for being so rich, and she has $40 million, and this celebrity who's so rich, and he has $120 million. And then it was like, and then here's the height of the graph, and that's Beyonce. Beyonce's at $1.2 billion. Taylor Swift is twice as high at $2.4 billion. Like, Taylor Swift is, people do not appreciate how much a billion is compared to a million, and seeing the visual graph of like, yeah, it is bad. Taylor Swift, I don't know. She's got Travis Kelce to
Yeah.
just defend her. She doesn't need a bunker.
Yeah, she's got a bunker.
Mhm.
She's got a bunker. And you know, Ronaldo just became the first first $1 billion sportsman or $1 billion
Ugh,
footballer.
Ronaldo, really, of all the people? Alleged
Yeah.
rapist Ronaldo? Great.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's say alleged rapist, but we're pretty sure he did it.
But we're pretty sure he
Pretty
did it,
pretty
yeah.
confident. Yeah, pretty sure he did it. But yeah, bunker's good. You got let's go through the list, right? You got your private jet.
Private jet, terrible for the economy, or probably fine for the economy, terrible for the environment.
Yeah, the bunker. You got the personalized house, like everything, you know.
You have like 5 personalized houses.
You have 5 personalized houses. You got the
Right.
cars.
Don't forget the yacht,
Yeah.
the yacht that you built
The
in
yacht.
Denmark
Yeah.
or whatever, and you built it in the harbor, and it's too tall for the historic bridge, and so you hope that you're going to bribe the 400-year-old city, 1,000-year-old city to tear down its ancient historical bridge so your billionaire super yacht can somehow flee the harbor. Just
Oh, I
and
would not.
by the way,
turn
none
those
of that
things
is
down.
real. The other part of this whole billionaire thing is none of them have $1 billion in cash. They have assets that they're allowed to put up as collateral to get a loan so that they can then go do the crazy thing. So you have $1 billion in Tesla stock that you put up as collateral to then go get, $40 million to buy the super yacht. And then you're paying down the interest payments on your $1 billion worth of stock is enough to pay the loan. Like, billionaires aren't actually billionaires. They're in this giant Ponzi scheme with banks to give themselves free loans, basically. Like, it's a whole giant bonkers system, and all of it should be killed.
Yeah, bunkers. Oh, I wish I had that much money. I'd have a bunker. Gosh, I'd have a bunker. I actually would really like to build one of those houses out of, the old trailers, like a nice contemporary. Have you seen those houses built out of the
What?
18-wheelers? They take the trailers off the back and then they cut and they
What?
put glass. Have you not seen these?
No. But like just containered, like what they stick
Yeah, it's like
cloud
it's
compute
sort of
in
good for
Chicago.
it's good for the environment. So what they're doing is saying instead of dropping them at the bottom of the ocean, right, is they're building houses out of them, so you can stack them and build all kind of contemporary styles.
But
And then
then
they
like
cut the
every
side out.
room, but then like every room is at most 8 feet wide or whatever, or they're like fully
No,
tearing
no,
down.
because
Right?
you can
Okay.
augment it, right? You can cut the side off one container and then have a concrete section of the building.
Okay.
It's gorgeous. I love it. And I also
Creepy
like
and
those
weird.
really small, those little tiny houses that
Those
people
tiny
have.
houses are super compelling. Every once in a while, I'm like, I could get a tiny house in the woods and just. My only
Yeah,
problem is I'm not willing to go off the grid. I get that I am a massive hypocrite. I want the internet still. I want all of my stuff. And so, like, I could physically downsize, but going and living in the woods means I'm on like 56K dial up. I'm not going back. I'm not, that's not part of the return that I
yeah.
want.
I'm not
No,
going off the grid. I definitely
no.
want. I definitely. I would love a place in the woods. Sam though, horses too. I would have a lot of horses.
I mean, I'm allergic to all animals, so no, I don't
Even
need
a
a horse.
horse.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. So we're not worried about the billionaires having, a secret contingency plan for their plans to ruin the economy and ruin the planet and
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's
set
my
yourself up for your
initial.
book, man. Talk about the fucking gap in the sting. What are you doing?
Yeah, no. I can see it, like, but I don't. It's definitely insurance. I think they definitely see the same things we do, which is,
Sure.
it's non-sustainable, right? Just roll AI out the way they are, and just sort of keep your fingers crossed and hope and pray that innovation is going to happen at the rate that new job creation comes along.
And if it doesn't,
So
I can
yeah,
flee to New Zealand and hide in my bunker while the world burns.
yeah, but we can get them right. Like someone knows where that bunker is, and someone's got like the heavy equipment.
The Purge 5 getting Zuck.
Yeah, because they
Right.
don't have personal armies. Now, maybe that's the last sort of
mean,
warning sign is
right.
Zuckerberg has 150 contractors who are armed, and he's got his own little military. Then we're close, right?
Right.
But being in a bunker underground, you're pretty exposed, right? Within a few days, I could sort of make it uncomfortable for you if I've got some big enough diggers and stuff.
Sure. Okay.
'Cause, I mean, think about it though, right? Like, I might actually prefer to take my chances with like my gat gun in the mountains and the big fence rather than be in a metal container underground. I don't know,
Sure.
man.
Sure.
I feel like if you're watching Zuckerman, like, it's going to be bad. As soon as they find the vents, I mean,
Right.
think about the shit they're going to put down the vents. Yeah, the bunker thing's not going to work.
The bunker is their contingency plan in case the 47 nuclear power plants that they need to spin up for their energy consumption all go haywire because they cut safety corners and none of us are alive. They're just surviving the nuclear fallout.
What are they doing down there, though? There's no internet. There's no TV. So they got generators. They got backup
gonna have a
power
bunch of-
for a
they're gonna have-
while.
They're going to have a bunch of GPUs spinning up your slop shows that they want to have. They'll have 14 different new seasons of Lost for them generated
How
by
are
their
they
little AI bots.
How-
Geothermal? I don't know.
Because solar ain't going to work when the nuclear dust, nuclear
Right.
war, tidal wave big enough, like they're on little islands. Yeah, the bunker thing is purely insurance. When you get to that point where you're like, fuck, I got to buy something for myself at Christmas, the bunker, that's the next thing.
I'll buy my wife and kids a bunker.
Bunker, yeah.
Right, okay. Now that's a commercial you don't see. The commercial with the wife having, she's got her eyes covered and the husband brings her outside at Christmas. It's like, look, your new Lexus, and it's got a bow on it. He just brings her
Yeah.
outside and there's a bow on the ground. I built
Yeah.
you a bunker.
I mean, that's assuming you're taking them with you, right? Like, because the food lasts like 3 or 4 times as long if I just go in by myself.
Right.
Because I don't want them to suffer the same boredom.
Right. Yeah. Zuck does
don't
strike
wanna-
me as
yeah.
the type of sociopath who would just be like, well, it's me or you, and it's going to be me.
Yeah, you've seen the movie The Mist, right?
My God. Most brutal ending to a movie ever. It's so good. It's so good.
It's haunting.
Yeah, it
haunting,
really
yeah.
is. Yes.
Yeah, it's good. So the bunker, no, not a good idea. But yeah, this thing in the gap, I think if this thing in the gap, I think they are sitting ducks. Boy, we were going to have a lot of fun with Zuck and his bunker.
Is Sam Altman forming a cult?
I've started increasingly thinking that the best way to actually understand the AI world is Dune,
Okay.
where you create this mythology. So Paul Atreides, his mom, right? She creates this mythology around him being the coming of the Messiah. And most people who hear this myth for the first time, they don't realize that it was handcrafted to control the people and make sure that Paul would ultimately have power. And eventually, as he steps into this, he starts to forget that the myth was originally a creation and he starts to believe in it himself, right? And I think this is exactly what's happening in the AI world with the kind of rhetoric that they use, where they talk about building digital gods and digital demons, literally, is that they created this mythology. At some point, someone created a mythology around the extraordinary power of these technologies and the need to usher it in carefully, very conveniently by the people that created that mythology. And now we are at a place where essentially everyone that exists in this ecosystem in Silicon Valley has forgotten or has come to believe, or maybe always believed, that this is their sole purpose and this is what they need to do for the world.
This is obviously a Dune reference to get you to engage with the idea
Yeah.
that this is all smoke and mirrors designed to...
Well, it's a bad analogy, though, right? Like, because Dune, he is the Kwisatz Haderach, right? He is the one. It's not just that he believes it, so it's not a good comparison. Yep, and there's nothing wrong with a calling, right? I think a better comparison might have been Apple. What Apple did with their marketing and why people queue around the corner, to me, is cult-like, right? They can't answer why the iPhone is better. They have no idea. But they're willing to queue and they're willing to pay more and they're willing to have less sort of freedoms on their device because Apple have just indoctrinated them, right? And I think Simon Sinek has a good talk about the golden circle? But yeah, if that's your calling, you do. Like, I'm good with Sam Altman. If this is his calling, like, I can understand that. If you believe that this is truly why I was put on this planet, is to progress AI, then it goes back to what I was saying in previous episodes of the podcast, where it's like the legacy, right? What are you leaving behind for the next generation? And I don't think most individuals, we don't think like that every day. We're sort of thinking like, what can I get? How much wealth can I accumulate, right? I actually like these guys because they are sort of looking at I would assume they are thinking about the 100 and 200 years after they're gone, because they realize not all of the progress and advancement is going to happen during their lifetimes, right? So if people follow them as a cult, I wouldn't necessarily blame a Sam Altman, but I do love that someone has a calling that they believe in, like these guys. Yeah.
I think where the comparison works, though, is I think you could debate whether or not Paul Atreides actually was anything other than a genetically engineered person. And there is no such thing as anyone being a chosen one. They genetically engineered a person to be able to fulfill their own prophecy that they did. At least Paul Atreides had some fucking skill. You go listen to Sam Altman. He has no plan. He is not smart. He is a guy who lucked into the position that he's in and should absolutely not be followed around, but does buy his hype. And I think that's where the metaphor works in both directions, which is Paul Atreides starts drinking his own Kool-Aid and becomes a genocidal maniac. Sam Altman is worse because he has no actual innate built-in difference or ability and is drinking his own Kool-Aid and is buying into his own hype. And I think a lot of people give them, people like Sam Altman, way too much credit. He has no plan for the next 90 days, much less the next 900 years. Like there's no there.
Yeah,
That should be
but
terrifying for all of us, just like it ends up being terrifying for anyone who has to deal with Paul Atreides in the end.
who moves? But they moved the ball, right? Like it's like looking at Marilyn Monroe. She wasn't a great actor, right? And she probably wasn't even the most beautiful woman around at the time. But she had this power, and she moved the dial, right? Like people were intrigued by her. And Sam Altman brings people to the table. He makes people interested. He might not be the one who progresses it. You hope that they have a good cabinet, right? Like every leader should have a set of good leaders beneath them. I got to assume these guys are surrounded by some of the best.
I mean, every single clip we're going to react to is listening to them be total morons who have no idea what's coming next. They're inventing they're going to colonize the galaxy. And in the future, dollars will be compute cost. Like they're idiots. I see zero evidence that that's a true statement. They don't deserve that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, but probably the mistake that some of them make is like innate to being a dork, right? Which is they allow themselves to get excited, overexcited, and then they start talking about their visions, and they're not able to sort of talk about visions that are relevant. And I've done the same thing where it's like you're not able to talk about visions that people can understand the leap. So if I say, hey, one day we may grow our own cables, right? Organic cables. And, instead of teaching a kid how to play soccer, we just implant. All of that is still very much into the future science fiction, but we'll get there, right? It's kind of pointless talking about it now because it will be in our lifetimes, and anybody who's listening will be like, you're crazy. You'll never replicate. You'll never do all those things. And it's like the reality is we probably will, or we probably could. Do we destroy ourselves before we get to that point? But I think they're just dorks. And I think, when you take them to a party and they get excited and they start oversharing, I think that's the excitement we're seeing. They're trying to say, like, there's no limit to what we can do now, right? We really, once quantum computing and AI and we figure out the power issues, once those things come along, at some point someone's going to figure out like, yeah, we can bend the universe, right? We can bend space. We can literally walk across a large part of the universe because we figured it all out. That's cool, man.
Problem with the cult is, but the problem with the cult is none of that's real now, and yet they're convincing people that they are that smart and that is going to happen in people's lifetimes. This is the concern is like the cult of Steve Jobs was bad. And yeah, the iPhone, no one can tell you anymore why the iPhone is better other than you're just in the Apple hype cycle and you've been convinced. And I guess in people's defense, in 2007, the iPhone was genuinely trying to do things that no device was doing. So I get the original hype cycle that he created around that. And yes, the first time you use ChatGPT and it sounds like a person, it can genuinely be surprising that that's real. But then the hype cycle gets out of control and you start believing that they're going to deliver a thing that they will not deliver in your lifetime. And in the meantime, it's killing you. And it's literally killing you, that you are getting dumber. It's convincing kids to kill themselves. Like, it's actively bad now because the cult can't recognize that this guy is dreaming about a thing that's not going to happen for 300 years and is buying the hype that he thinks it's going to happen now. Like, it's a bad cycle. You can argue that that person should be a visionary sitting in a boardroom somewhere nudging people in the right direction, but that's why the concern is they're not doing that. They're creating these cults of personality and AI as this savior, and it's not going to happen for the people who are giving up their control now.
How is that any different? And I'm not saying it's the same. I'm asking because in my mind it feels the same. When a famous woman attaches herself to products that encourage girls to be on healthy weight, when the reality is that no matter what, those girls are never going to look like the girls in
Oh, yeah.
the commercial, right?
Correct. The
So America's-
Kardashians are monsters. The Kardashians are full plastic surgery, taking drugs to do all of the things, and then
Yeah.
turning around and telling you Revlon makeup's going to make you look like this. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not. Yeah, everybody, there's tons of monsters around here. So yes, there's plenty of people, but I think also in the same direction, why those people are bad, and as a culture, we should do something about it. But the scope and degree of what they're doing is drastically different when you're Sam Altman. You're fully trying to reshape the economy. I think like 40% of GDP right now is tied up in the AI bubble, and we're all screwed when it pops. And at a certain point, that size of comparison, why, like, that's Mao. That's like significant historical figures who we all look at and say, well, that was bad. We shouldn't, like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, why do they get the pass? Because they're in our capitalist system and we like capitalists and we don't like communists. But like the negative impact Sam Altman has the potential to cause in the next 5 years is on the scale of the Cultural Revolution in China and the death toll and the things, but we're not allowed to like talk about it that way. He's just he's a billionaire and they're going to do their kind of stuff and he's allowed to get away with it. Why? It's a cult full of people making promises that are total bullshit. It's never going to happen.
Look, when I signed that form, there was no cult terminology in there. When I signed up for Sam Altman's little club, there was no indoctrination.
There never is. That's the trick.
Unfortunately, that's the cake. That's America, right? That's the cake. It's the cake at the middle of all of it.
Bad.
Rich people telling, not dumb, but impressionable people.
Yeah, if you don't have the information available to you, somehow we put the entire world's information in the palm of our hands, and it's not enough. It's not actually enough to help us be aware of the glam and glitz of a pretty looking person on Instagram telling you to buy this product and you'll be just as pretty as her, to let Sam Altman convince you to physically make yourself dumber.
I don't even know if it's not enough too, right? It's like, do people actually care anymore? Like, I think over the last 20 years in America, does telling the truth and facts, like, will these people ever see the light? I mean, some will, but there's always going to be impressionable people.
Sure, but you're getting into whataboutism territory of, well, the rich pretty person's allowed to dupe these people, so why can't Sam Altman dupe these people? Like,
no,
okay, but
I'm not offering it as a defense, so it's not technically whataboutism. What I'm saying is like, I like your optimism, but producing facts for people, certainly in America, it doesn't really matter anymore, does it? Like,
it works on an individual level. They've done studies. You can deprogram people who have fallen into the MAGA world and show them the stuff. You can deprogram the things that happen, but it's not a thing that happens en masse. You're not going to have a CBS News story suddenly break through and 30 million people change their mind. It is slow, hard slog.
So with the human mind so susceptible, how can you have any optimism? Like, because
most people are actually smarter and just disengaged. I don't know. I take comfort in like a lot of people who voted for Trump in 2024. Like, there are a lot of just simply disengaged people. And I think the left falls victim to this a lot of the times, which is, well, you voted for Trump, you must be a bigot. And it's like, there's a lot of bigots who voted gladly for Trump, but there's also a lot of people who just saw billionaire from TV make price go down. Sure. And like, that's one of the challenges you have is 47% of the population doesn't vote because they're just disengaged from politics in general. And of the people who are the diehards, yeah, sure, there's 15% of the country who truly believe all of this racist, fascist bullshit that's coming out of that administration right now. But a lot of people were just like, Biden, make price go up, want price to go down, so vote for the alternative. And that's bad too. But like, I genuinely have hope because there's a lot of people who just, Democrats are bad at messaging. And if you could get people who could get good messages in front of them, they are actually just in their own limited information bubbles and reactive to things and not actually fascist supporting racists.
I love when you guys fight over the price of gasoline. I love it. It's used as like,
it's the stupidest argument. Oh my God.
Oh, I love it. Every election, like, seen the gas prices?
Right.
I love it. I do feel like I'm in a zoo sometimes.
Like, at minimum, like, did you look at the gas price at the gas station next to the freeway? It's always going to be higher. The gas price 100 miles away from the nearest freeway is going to be higher. But the gas price in your town is probably relatively whatever. Like, so many stupid things about gas prices. Anyways, the price of eggs was the most important thing in the 2024 election, and it has only gone up. So,
but you know, there were people, that was a big deal. That's a cult. They're cult members.
Yeah.
In about 5 years, we expect half the workforce to be agents.
Half the workforce.
Half the workforce to be
years.
agents. Half in 5 years. Half the workforce to be agents. That is $1 trillion market. We're not just replacing work, we're replacing services, we're replacing software. Things are getting bundled in the corpus of an AI agent.
Wow.
So there's a massive demand right now, not only because of efficiency, but because of cost cutting and higher productivity. They don't perform some tasks and wait for humans to help them out. They perform the majority of the tasks. So how do you price that? How do you make sure that they get paid for the value they delivered? How do you make sure that your pay is above your cost? As you know, token costs can run out of control, so you want to make sure that
that's the compute
margins.
cost.
That is the LLM cost.
Okay.
And the compute cost. And maybe you have other things, like maybe you have some 11 labs, maybe you have some OCR work, maybe you have some other kind of work that drives up your cost. And third, how do you show the work to your end customer? Because a lot of the times these agents are running in the background. So you need to make sure that you get paid for the work that you did, and then you show the customer that they received the value.
Is this a this year problem that needs to be solved? Agentic AI, is 2025 the year when we start to see this in a material way?
100%. It's here, it's now, it's relevant, and everyone is rushing to build agents and to deploy agents in the enterprise.
So, one, a guy from a company whose entire job it is to tell you that agents are the future is telling you that agents are the future. So there's a little bit of like, of course, that's what he's coming on Bloomberg to tell you is going to happen. But I don't understand what the plan is. You fire half of your people. You then have to figure out how to cover the cost of running these things, which hopefully you figured out is supposed to be cheaper than the people you just fired. But you don't have any of those plans yet. We've looked at the stacking cost of, well, this agent calls this agent, which calls this agent, which calls this agent. So I now have 8 companies in the chain who all need to make a profit. And then for your customer, did your customer also fire half of its workforce? Who is buying things anymore? Half of the economy is unemployed. So you just cut all of your costs for a bunch of people who now no longer have income to spend on the companies that cut the cost. Like, they're fully divorced from any kind of logic. How is this supposed to work? It's unsustainable. I don't get it. What's the plan?
No, I know. Yep, I totally agree. Like, you know me, I err on the side of cynicism, and we are. And here's the key, right? Like, don't get killed in the first wave. Because at some point when they figure out, oh, it's not a political ideology difference, right? It's like, right. It's actually economics and capitalism might be broken with the new AI model. Then we might start seeing like, freeze, nobody's getting evicted, right? So we might see this period of like, hold the banks, like you can't evict anyone anymore, right? Like there's too many people on the streets. But if you get killed in the first wave, Like you might be that new. I mean, we already have that. We have the homeless people you drive by every day, right? Like those are what they call the untermentions, that the Germans would call them beneath. They're not even worthy of a mention. So we already have people like that in society. And if you get canned in the first wave and you can't survive, you could fall into that tier of people. So it really is going to be like hang on as long as you can in the new economy.
Which
And,
sucks
you
for the
know,
people who are already there and don't make that cut. So
yeah.
good job, society. Good job, these people who do not have a plan for what this looks like. I just don't. It's so short-sighted. Like, it's the same problem I have with private equity. Private equity buys Toys R Us, loads Toys R Us up with all of its debt, and then puts Toys R Us out of business. Toys R Us didn't go out of business because Amazon was a better competitor. Toys R Us went out of business because they had billions of dollars of debt to service, and it couldn't. Private equity does this to corporation, industry after industry. And what's the plan? Amazon is the one store you're allowed to shop at in the future, but it doesn't matter because, like, at a certain point, Amazon being the only store you go to then can charge you whatever price they want, and Jeff Bezos is going to charge you whatever price he wants, but it won't matter because you won't have a job to pay for it. I don't understand what the end goal of the system is.
Is it a classic case of like nobody has a fucking clue? Because it could be like you have to fill up the balloon to see how many holes are in it, right? It's like when you pop your tire and they put it under water to see where the bubbles are coming up, to see where the puncture is. And maybe they genuinely need to see, because you and I have talked about this, where this system fails and that then impacts this system, and lower down there's another system. Maybe they have no idea what order these systems are going to fail in. And
I think they're just assuming that they fail after the time that you become rich enough to have your own bunker and you can go fuck off and survive whatever horror show comes afterwards. And they don't care because their plan is to always be so uber rich that it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's bonkers.
But it won't work though, right? Because the banks are going to fail too.
This is the thing, is like at some point it's the climate change ecosystem collapse. No one cares that the gold-beaked finch dies in the Azores, but 10 years later, the fact that was the ecosystem that went down, and then the fish went down, and then because the fish went down, the thing went down, and then because the thing went down, suddenly we didn't have the thing that we used to fertilize our crops. Like, no one puts those chains of things together. And yeah, the banks collapse because no one's paying their rent, and it's untenable, and I don't understand. There are versions of this which are efficiency gains because one person can now accomplish 8 things. It's the person on the Ford factory floor who still helps the robots connect all of the pieces, but the robots aren't autonomous. And like, there used to be 100 people on the factory floor and there's now 10. Yes, but at least there's versions of new technology which are bad, but not like catastrophically bad. And for some reason, they're all embracing the catastrophically bad version. And I don't understand. And oh, by the way, we'll get to a clip at some point. There's a study where they were like, oh, it's really great that we figured out how to go from a 90% failure rate to just a 20% failure rate. And I'm like, cool, you would be fired as a CTO in a finance company if you were offering a 20% failure rate. So there are entire industries where this doesn't apply. So do you have to find the job that needs 5 nines worth of reliability and you'll never be replaced by AI? What is the plan?
And I wonder, because I always use the quote, right, from the movie, from the great John Cleese in the remake of it's got Keanu Reeves in The Day of the Something, or blah, blah, blah. It's got the big iron robot, the UFO one. And he says, like, you're robbing us of the chance to evolve, to change, right? Only at the precipice do we change. And part of my pessimism and sort of cynicism about humanity is we do burn our fingers, and that's how we evolve, right? Like, you burn your fingers, you're like, fuck, get the other glove out. And so maybe we're just never going to be, not in our lifetimes, but maybe we're just never going to be the kind of people that say, slow down, let's plan ahead. And that's where my pessimism and cynicism comes from, because remember, like, it's fundamental, right? Like processed foods. We know they didn't do any proper QA on processed foods, right? Because it should have been done over generations, but nobody was going to wait for 2 generations to be like, what does it do to the human body when it's passed down to a child? They would never be in business. this is the way we evolve, right? And this is why I am the way I am. It's like, yeah, of course we always go in, kick the doors down, and then there's a rewind and a pushback. But the pushback, yeah, it's going to be pretty brutal for probably millions of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this isn't
millions.
burning your hand. This is a device that cuts your arm off. So, like, you can burn your
Yeah.
hand and learn a lesson. This is a thresher.
I've stuck my hand in the garbage disposal while it's running, you know?
Okay,
Like,
well, I should edit that out.
No, I mean, you know, there's a chunk of something and you put your fingers and push it down, you know, like you live on the edge sometimes, right? And that's humanity. And I love it and I hate it, right? Like, I love it because things get done much quicker. I hate it because, yeah, like it's going to be it sucks when 2 decades of your life are wasted. And that's what I feel like our progress is going to be non-existent because we're tackling this economic problem. And for the first 10 years of it, fighting about how it's a political ideology problem. Like, oh, you want socialism. It's like, no, I don't want my family living on the street, goddammit. And like, I'm a conservative. It's like, come on, wrap your heads around this, right? Like the dominoes are falling. These are your consumers. How are you going to maintain the stock price? Oh, and by the way, they're the investors too. Like they are investing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting and scary and fun. But I
do
think
think
that's
there's
how
an
we evolve.
episode. I think there's an episode that we should do, which is if you look at the Industrial Revolution, looking at like a bunch of the AI proponent people will say stuff like in 1900, 94% of the country was agrarian, and by the year whatever, we had flipped that around and people had moved to the cities and they had switched to factory jobs and technology jobs. And look at how different the year 2000 is from the year 1900. And that's just what's going to happen this time. And I do think that there's an interesting, I don't know enough about how that transition went. I know the Great Depression was a side effect of some of that transition, and the New Deal was the only thing that dragged us out of that. The thing that would absolutely be shouted down today is socialism. And I think it's challenging because at least in the past, there was still a human being who needed to Eli Whitney inventing the cotton gin. There were still, unfortunately, human beings. They were slaves who had to go and use that technology and go and do all of that. There was at least factory work. There was at least like a thing. Did it suck for the factory workers who got priced out and then had to go and learn the next technology? Yeah. Did it suck for the special effects artists who used to do claymation or whatever and had to learn computers? Sure, but there was at least this is what the new thing is. And AI proponents talk about, well, we don't know what the job of the future could possibly be. This is just going to provide the opportunity for a whole new job. And it's like, maybe, but the current plan is not, oh, you've got to go learn how to code. The current plan is this agent is simply going to take your job and there is no replacement. And I think that's part of the thing that's confusing to me is I don't know enough about how these past transitions have gone, but this one feels different. This one feels like there was some kind of oh, okay, well, I've got to go and learn this new thing. There is no new thing. There is no thing that's going to happen to replace your job. Your job is being taken away, and there is no go to this next 2-year course and get this new type of job. They haven't done that part yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it changed planes, right? Like it's just going back to talking about learning how to code and the internet and essentially what we do. But I think then the innovation is going to move from that plane, which is what am I learning, to what product am I building that everybody needs, right? And we know how saturated that is. It's not easy to sit there and dream up a new innovation and a new industry and a new sector and be like, oh, that's what people are going to need. It's like,
and who's paying for it? Because you just fired everybody.
Yeah. So now, my business plan is except I can't make any money from the people who actually use it.
Right.
And nobody's going to invest in me because the model is, well, we'll give you money if you give us more money back, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they are that dumb. Maybe they are dumb.
They are.
I can't believe that dumb.
This is the thing that I think people just don't appreciate is Trump is a moron who stumbled into being a billionaire and went bankrupt 4 times. And these folks, a lot of people have this myth that the media and our entire society and culture help reinforce, which is, well, you made that much money, and it would be wildly unfair if dipshits could make that much money. Therefore, you must not be a moron. You must be smart, because otherwise, why am I not a billionaire? Why am I like, it is a self-referential, like, well, okay, but I would feel bad about myself if it turned out that it's luck and any old moron can become that rich. Any old moron can become that rich. It is luck. It is daddy gave you an infusion of money when you started. Like, there's a bunch of reasons why, and it is very, very rarely intelligence. There's a really interesting, I'll have to find the tweet and post it on the screen, of the guy who's like, I just assumed Elon must have been smart and successful because I saw him being so rich. And then he showed up in my industry when he bought Twitter and started making comments about software engineering. And I'm a software engineer, and I realized, oh, this guy's a moron and doesn't know what he's talking about. I'd be curious to go talk to car people about how he does Tesla. I'd be curious to go talk to like rocket scientists about how he does SpaceX. The intelligence is not a guaranteed what's correlation and causation to your wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
bad.
maybe they're the stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun though, right?
Yeah.
We're
Great.
the lab rats. We're the lab rats.
Yep. All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Acceptance Criteria. To read articles that we've written on similar topics to the ones we talk about here, head over to the blog at acceptancepod.com. And a quick reminder, whether this is your first episode or you've been listening for a while, we wouldn't say no to your going and dropping 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leaving us a nice review. And if you want to leave us a bad review, remember the name of the podcast is The Basement Yard. Also, tell your friends if you like the show and that they should check it out. Some of the best podcasts out there grow by word of mouth, and we'd much appreciate it.
And a friendly reminder that we're always interested in hearing questions directly from you, our listeners, especially for our segment User Stories. If you've got a scenario you'd like help with, whether it's working with a problematic engineer or product team member, trying to navigate the never-ending pitfalls with agile processes, or you just can't understand why your favorite app is evolving away from what drew you to it in the first place, we're here to talk it through with you. You can send those questions to acceptancepod@gmail.com or submit them on Discord in the User Stories channel, and we might be able to help on a future episode. And we're happy to keep it anonymous so that no one can trace it back to you if you end up shit-talking a coworker or something.
For now, I'm Kevin Thomas Euland, and you can find me on most apps at kthomaseuland, that's ULLAND.
And I'm Andrew Greener, and you can find me on most apps at Criteria Greener. That's GREINER. And this has been Acceptance Criteria. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.